At the moment, over 60% of our program's budget is financed by partners. The demands of our challenging time require an AU that can pursue multiple urgent and critical interventions using internally mobilized resources.
President William Ruto saying it was unfortunate that over 5 decades later, the African continent still relied heavily on external funding to drive its agenda.
It's my prayer, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, that we finally make the right decision and build an organization that is fit for purpose, that has the requisite finances, the needed voice, and the leadership that can project Africa's position much more clearly with a strong voice so that we can take our place in the community of nations.
If African solutions to African challenges and opportunities are to be more than a slogan, we must have a strong voice in the G20, defining Africa's innovation and ideas, and we must also have unified action by African leaders to disrupt the unacceptable status quo.
Africa is suffering the consequences of world governance and the effect of the financial crisis which is felt by Africa. In fact, Africa should come up with its own African common position dealing with trade, migration, development financing, and the conflict resolution.
While calling for reforms of the African Union, the leaders also took issue with the unfair financial system that disenfranchised Africa, as at the moment the continent has a debt stock of $640 billion, whose repayment was high, owing to the branding of African nations as risky.
All of us have read about the animal farm, where there are some that are more equal than others. Our position is that we don't live in the animal farm, that we treat each other, and all of us are treated by a financial system equally. Agenda 2063 is our blueprint to deliver the Pan-African vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens, representing a dynamic force in the international arena.
We need the strength of our combined numbers to protect ourselves from the very real dangers of colonization returning in disguised forms.
So guys, I'm telling you, President Ruto is going to be a superstar for the continent. He's going to be the African president. No, let's say the president of Africa. Always a continent. He's going to be the president of the continent because he's doing some great works and he's bringing people together, for one, and he's saying what the issue is and he's working towards fixing it. He's not only just saying these things in his speech, because he recently have a deal signed with 15 African countries to do a trade, and he's also putting in what he's de-dollarizing Kenya, and he's saying that 60% of Africa's finances is out of Africa. 60%. And he said that is what we need to change. Because whenever there's a crisis, it tends to affect Africa mostly. So what he's saying that the African Union have to step up. And in a previous speech, President Ruto had said African countries need to relinquish more power to the African Union so they can negotiate and do things on the behalf of Africa continent on a whole. And he's right. Because if the African Union doesn't have no power to do anything, then it's going to hamper the integration of the continent, having free trade and borderless Africa. Kenya already opened up its borders to the entire continent. Who want to come can come and work without no documents. And more and more countries need to do this. That's why I'm saying President Ruto is actually not only speaking, he's putting what he's saying into action. He's doing it from all angles with Kenya, and he's making deals that will benefit Kenya on a whole. He does sign a trade deal with the EU. He have multiple trade deals with different African countries, Uganda, South Africa, and so forth and so on. And again, he's de-dollarizing Kenya, which is a great move. And he stopped. Remember before President Ruto was a president, or just before, African leaders used to go, all 54 of them used to go and to meet with one person. If they have a summit in America or England or Holland, where they have to meet the one president of said country, the whole of them have to go, have this big photo up. They don't get to speak, or they get to this take picture. President Ruto is the one who stopped that. I said, no. You're going to get to see 4 or 5 maximum. We're going to pick 5 to 6 of who to represent us, and then you speak to that person, and then they will talk for the continent. And some say he's putting things into play, and he's just like Gaddafi. He wants Africa to come together. He wants the continent to be one, borderless, and stop. He also wants to have less export and import. He's trying to make African countries trade with each other so they don't need Europe. They just signed a deal again with Iran in agriculture, in healthcare, and in finance. Him and the Iranian president just signed a deal a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So President Ruto is actually putting into place what other African leaders are actually now trying to put into place and try to follow his footsteps. And he's bringing people together. That's the beauty of it. He's bringing them together. He's not pushing them apart. So President Ruto will be the Gaddafi of the new Gaddafi, and I hope he's being protected at all costs by his other heads of states, presidents, and though they don't turn on him and again when it comes onto the West and go try to go against him. And so far what I'm seeing is he's doing a great job. The African Union is also stepping up and even recently the Nigerian president just gave a speech saying they're gonna start now he's gonna give the African Union some more power to start to tackle coups, because that's one of the next major thing we have to deal with in Africa is coups. We have to get that cut out, and that's what they're gonna work on next. And the free trade is already in, they're already trading with each other. So all in all, Africa is finally rising up, and they're kicking out the West and the colonizers and even the EU. A few countries already tell the French to leave, and right now South Africa, Malema, if he becomes president, he want to tell the America to take their base and leave as well. So you have more and more countries now trying to get these colonizers and to take their bases and the embassies and leave the continent. President Kagame for sure is one of those who's leading that charge of Rwanda. So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Drop a comment and let me hear what you think about this. Thanks for watching. You don't know, WSXM podcast as always. Tell a friend as well. If you feel like support the channel, my link for my Patreon is in the description as well. Thanks for watching. Boom.